My ex used me to pay her rent while dating others, so I vanished. Now she wants me back, but she's broke and alone. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and for a long time I honestly believed I was building a future with the woman I loved. Her name was Alina, and when we first started dating, she felt like everything I had ever wanted. Funny, sweet, ambitious. I'd been burned before in past relationships, so when she came into my life, making me feel seen and wanted, I thought, this is it. From the beginning, I wanted to be the kind of boyfriend who showed up. I planned surprise dinners, sent her flowers after stressful days, and drove across town just to drop off her favorite snacks when she said she was craving them. It wasn't about money to me. It was about proving my loyalty, proving I was serious. One evening, about 6 months in, she sat across from me at her tiny kitchen table. The single light above us flickered slightly, casting shadows across her face. She sighed and said softly, almost embarrassed, "I don't know how to say this, but I'm really struggling with rent this month. My hours got cut at work and I don't want to get kicked out." My instinct was immediate. "Don't worry, I'll help you. We'll figure it out together." She looked at me with teary eyes and whispered, "You're really too good to me." That sentence made me feel proud, like I was being the man she needed. Still, something small tugged at me. I noticed she was vague whenever I asked about her paycheck or her budgeting. She brushed it off with little laughs, saying, "Ugh, finances are so stressful I don't even want to think about it." I told myself it didn't matter. Love was about trust, right? And I trusted her completely. As I handed her the money for that month's rent, I felt like I was investing in our future, not realizing it was only the beginning of me investing in something that might never exist. And that was the first time I ignored the quiet alarm bells. A few weeks later, it happened again. I remember sitting on her couch, the faint smell of lavender from the candle she always kept burning filling the room. She curled up next to me, tracing circles on my arm like she always did when she wanted to soften me up. Then she said, "Babe, I hate to even bring this up, but my paycheck was late. My landlord is already threatening to slap me with late fees. I'm so embarrassed." I looked at her, wide brown eyes, biting her lip like she might cry. My chest tightened, not with suspicion, but with this overwhelming urge to protect her. I said, "It's okay. I've got you." "I don't want you stressing about this." She shook her head, acting guilty. "You're already doing too much. I promise I'll pay you back. Just don't think less of me." I pulled her closer and told her, "You're my girlfriend. This is what we do for each other. We'll get through it." And I meant it. But in the back of my mind, there was this small flicker of doubt. I worked hard for my money, budgeting carefully, planning ahead. I noticed she never really talked about her finances beyond these emergencies. When I asked how much her rent even was, she'd dodge with a laugh. "Way too much for this place. Trust me." Then she'd change the subject. Maybe kiss me to distract me. I convinced myself it didn't matter. I loved her. I wanted to prove I was someone she could count on, not someone who would abandon her when things got tough. So once again, I reached into my account, covered her rent, and told myself it was temporary. Just a rough patch, but deep down, something felt off. The rough patch never ended. What I thought would be a one-time favor, maybe twice at most, slowly became routine. Every month there was another reason. One time her boss supposedly messed up payroll. Another time her debit card got compromised and the bank was holding her funds. Then it was a sick aunt who suddenly needed money, which meant Alina couldn't spare any for rent. Each excuse sounded believable in the moment, especially the way she delivered them. Voice trembling, eyes wide like the world was against her. I wanted so badly to be her safe place, the person she leaned on. So I kept paying. "Babe, I swear I'll get you back when I can," she'd say, clutching my hand, her nails pressing lightly into my skin.
"You're saving me right now."
"You don't know how much this means." I'd smile and force a laugh. "It's no big deal. We're a team, right?" But the truth? I started noticing cracks. She always had her nails done, perfectly manicured in bright colors. She posted photos on Instagram of brunches with friends, mimosas, avocado toast, new outfits I'd never seen before. Meanwhile, I was skipping out on things for myself. I hadn't bought new shoes in months because I was funneling my extra cash into her rent. The apartment itself didn't reflect struggle. She had scented candles lined up on the counter, takeout containers from trendy restaurants in the fridge. Nothing screamed barely surviving. And yet, she always seemed a day away from eviction. I told myself not to judge. Maybe she just needed these little comforts to get through tough times. Maybe I was overthinking. Still, a quiet voice whispered in my head. If she can afford brunches and dresses, why can't she afford her own rent? And for the first time, I started to feel uneasy about the future I thought we were building together. It wasn't just me noticing anymore. My friends started pulling me aside, asking questions I didn't want to answer. One night after work, I grabbed beers with my buddy Daniel. He leaned across the table, his voice low over the noise of the bar. Man, don't take this the wrong way, but are you sure Alina's being straight with you? I frowned. What do you mean? He hesitated, then said, a friend of mine saw her out last weekend. She wasn't with you. She was with some guy, looked like a date. My stomach sank. I forced a laugh. She has guy friends, Dan, you know how it is. He gave me a look. Bro, she was holding his arm. It didn't look like just friends. I brushed him off, but when I went home that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next few weeks, little things jumped out. Alina would suddenly be busy on Friday nights. Her texts would get shorter, and sometimes hours would pass before she replied. When I asked who she'd been with, she'd roll her eyes and say, God, you're starting to sound controlling. Do you not trust me? I'd immediately back down. Of course I trust you, I want to know what's going on in your life. She'd kiss me quickly, brush it away with, don't overthink everything. You're my guy. You know that, but the whispers grew louder. Another friend casually mentioned seeing her at a cafe with someone new. My own sister told me, something about this doesn't feel right. Be careful. Each warning felt like a tiny cut, chipping away at the blind trust I'd been holding on to. I wanted to believe she was just misunderstood, that people were reading too much into things, but in my gut, the unease was turning into something darker, suspicion I couldn't shake. The moment that shattered my denial came on a quiet Thursday night. I was sitting on Alina's couch waiting for her to finish showering. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, lighting up the dark room with a glow. I wouldn't normally snoop, but the preview flashed a message that froze me. A heart emoji followed by, can't wait to see you this weekend. My chest tightened. My first instinct was to tell myself it was nothing, maybe a cousin, maybe a joke. But then another message came through. Dinner's on me this time. Friday night, 8 p.m. I picked up the phone, my hands trembling. The guy's name wasn't familiar. My stomach churned as I scrolled up just a little, lines of flirty messages, late night miss you texts, even a picture of them together, smiling in a dimly lit restaurant. By the time she came out of the bathroom, hair damp, smelling like vanilla body wash, I was gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles were white. What's this? I asked, my voice low but shaking. She glanced at the screen, then looked at me with a mix of irritation and feigned innocence. Are you serious right now? You went through my phone? Who is he, Alina? My voice cracked. She snatched the phone from my hands, rolling her eyes. Relax, he's just a friend. You're blowing this way out of proportion. A friend who sends you heart emojis? A friend who takes you out on dates? She crossed her arms, defensive. You're acting paranoid. Do you know how toxic it is to snoop like that? Maybe you need to trust me more. Her words cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Part of me knew what I saw was undeniable. Yet another part, the part that loved her, wanted so badly to believe her excuses. I sat there in silence, anger and heartbreak colliding, while she stormed into the bedroom muttering, unbelievable. And in that silence, I realized I was losing myself, one excuse at a time. After that night, something shifted between us. I thought catching her red-handed would change things, force honesty, maybe even end it. But instead, she twisted the entire situation until I was the one apologizing. The next morning, she sat across from me at her kitchen table, sipping coffee like nothing had happened. You know, your insecurity is exhausting, she said, her tone sharp but calm, like she was scolding a child. I stared at her. Alina, I literally saw the messages. How do you expect me to ignore that? She slammed her cup down, coffee splashing over the rim. Do you ever hear yourself? You think every guy I talk to wants me? God, it's pathetic. I can't believe you don't trust me after everything I've been through. My chest tightened. I'm not making it up. He literally said. She cut me off, her voice rising. No, you're just jealous. You always need to make me the villain. You know what? Maybe you should think about why you're so paranoid. Maybe it's you who has the problem, not me. I sat there, stunned, the walls closing in. Her words sank into me like hooks, twisting, pulling, making me question my own sanity. Was I overreacting? Was I really so insecure that I was imagining things? Then, as if to flip the script entirely, she softened. Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. I love you. You're the only one who's ever been there for me. Don't ruin this with your trust issues. Tears stung my eyes. And just like that, I caved. I muttered, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make it worse. She smiled faintly, leaned over and kissed my cheek. That's better. Now can you transfer me the rent money today? My landlord's been breathing down my neck. And I did. I actually did. Even after everything, because by then she wasn't just draining my bank account. She was draining my ability to believe my own reality. The truth finally clawed its way out one night, and it hit me harder than anything before. I was at a small get-together when a mutual acquaintance, a girl named Marissa, pulled me aside. She looked uncomfortable, almost guilty. Listen, she said quietly, glancing around. I don't want to get involved, but you deserve to know. Alina isn't just talking to one other guy. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? She hesitated, then sighed. She's been seeing at least 2 others. I saw her at a bar last weekend with one of them all over him. And the week before that, she was on a dinner date with another guy I actually know personally. She introduces herself like she's single. The room tilted. My chest felt like it caved in. You're sure? Marissa nodded slowly. I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to keep looking like a fool. I left the party early, my thoughts spinning. Back at my apartment, I sat on the edge of my bed, phone clutched in my hands. The pieces started clicking together. The late replies, the sudden girls' nights, the new clothes, the way she always had excuses ready. And while I was paying her rent, cutting back on my own life, she was out there living like a free agent. When I finally confronted her the next day, she didn't even look ashamed. She smirked and shrugged. So what if I talk to other guys? You're still here, aren't you? Clearly they don't matter if I keep choosing you. Her words burned. I couldn't believe the arrogance dripping off her voice, the sheer confidence that I'd never leave, and the worst part? In that moment, a part of me still clung to her, still wanted to believe that I mattered. But deep inside, something finally snapped. I thought confronting her would finally force the truth out, maybe even push her to admit guilt. Instead, it turned into one of the most humiliating conversations of my life. We were in her living room, the curtains half drawn, the hum of the fridge filling the silence between us. My voice shook as I said, I know you're seeing other guys, Alina. People have told me. I'm not crazy. She leaned back on the couch, crossed her legs, and smirked. And? What exactly do you want me to say? I blinked at her, stunned. That you'll stop. That you actually care about me. That you'll be honest for once. She laughed, an actual laugh, sharp and cold. Honest? You already know what's going on? You're the one still here, paying my bills, playing boyfriend. Don't act shocked. You benefit from this too. You get to save me and feel like a hero. My hands clenched into fists. That's not what this is. I love you. I thought we were building something real. Her smile faded into something crueler. You're so dramatic. You think love is enough? Grow up. Love doesn't pay rent. Money does. And right now, that's your role. The words sliced through me like glass. I stared at her, heart pounding in my ears, realizing she wasn't even trying to deny it anymore. But instead of walking out, I froze. My throat tightened. All I could manage was, you're unbelievable. She rolled her eyes, stood up, and grabbed her purse. Whatever. Call me when you're done with your pity party. And don't forget, rent's due in 3 days. She left me there, sitting on her couch, feeling smaller than I ever had in my life. And for the first time, I wondered if I'd ever find the strength to leave. That month broke me. My savings were gone, my credit card balance creeping higher, and yet I still found myself transferring money into her account. Each payment felt like I was digging my own grave, but I couldn't stop. I told myself just one more time, then I'll cut her off. But one more time turned into a cycle that swallowed me whole. I skipped meals to stretch my grocery budget, patched up old shoes instead of buying new ones, and ignored the messages from my bank warning me about overdraft fees. Meanwhile, Alina strutted around in new heels, posting photos from rooftop bars with cocktails that probably cost half my week's food budget. One night, I came home from a double shift at work, my clothes reeking of sweat and fryer oil. I collapsed on my couch, every muscle screaming. My phone buzzed. It was her. "Babe, I need the rent by tomorrow morning. Can you send it tonight?" My chest tightened. I whispered into the dark, "Alina, I can't keep doing this." "I'm drowning," she replied instantly. "Stop being dramatic. You're supposed to have my back. Isn't that what love is?" I sat there staring at the glowing screen, tears welling up. For the first time, I didn't feel like her boyfriend. I felt like her wallet. And worse, I felt like a fool who had volunteered for it. That night, I barely slept. I lay there with the ceiling fan whirring above me, every rotation like a clock tick counting down. I thought about the man I used to be, proud, careful, full of dreams. And now, I was broke, humiliated, and clinging to the scraps of a relationship that was slowly killing me inside. It was my lowest point. And I knew if I didn't change something soon, I'd lose myself completely. The breaking point came from the most unexpected place. One evening, I got a message on social media from a guy I didn't know. His profile picture showed him grinning, arms slung around none other than Alina. My stomach turned cold as I clicked it open. "Hey man," the message started. "I think we should talk." I didn't know she had a boyfriend. She told me she was single. I froze. My hands shook as I typed back, "Who are you to her?" He replied instantly, "I've been seeing her for a couple months. Dinners, dates, weekends together. Honestly, I thought it was getting serious, but a friend told me she might be playing multiple guys, so I wanted to check." Reading those words was like someone ripping the blindfold off my face. It wasn't insecurity. It wasn't paranoia. It was the truth. She wasn't just careless. She was running a con, juggling men while draining me dry. I asked, "Does she ever ask you for money?" "Not yet," he wrote, "but she drops hints about her rent being expensive. Guess she's testing the waters." My chest felt like it might cave in. All this time, while I sacrificed my peace and future, she was planting the same trap for someone else. When I confronted her that night, holding up my phone with the messages, she didn't even flinch. "Wow," she sneered. "So now you're teaming up with random dudes to gang up on me?" Pathetic. I stood there, heart pounding, but for the first time, I didn't feel confused. I didn't feel guilty. I felt clarity. She wasn't going to change. She wasn't sorry. And if I stayed, I'd lose everything. That was the night I decided I wouldn't fight her anymore. I'd disappear. After that night, I stopped arguing. Outwardly, I played the same role, the dependable boyfriend who sent the transfers and swallowed the excuses. But inside, something had snapped. I no longer believed a word she said. Every "I love you" sounded like a line from a script. I started planning my exit in silence. First, I opened a new bank account and began funneling what little I had left into it. I canceled the autopay for her rent and redirected my paycheck into a separate card she didn't know existed. At work, during lunch breaks, I searched for apartments in another part of the city. I didn't tell my friends, not even my sister. The fewer people who knew, the less chance it would get back to her. I was done being predictable. Meanwhile, she kept up her act. "You're the only one I can count on," she'd coo, running her fingers through my hair. "Everyone else just disappoints me." I'd nod, smile faintly, and pretend to be the same guy she'd been using. But behind the mask, I was taking back my life one small step at a time. I stopped answering her calls right away. I started spending my nights packing small boxes under the guise of spring cleaning. I pulled my name off the joint utilities I'd stupidly agreed to cover. Every move felt like oxygen filling my lungs again. It wasn't just about leaving her. It was about remembering who I was before her. Still, there was one last transfer she expected, the next month's rent. And I already knew she wasn't going to get it. The only question left was how to leave without giving her a chance to pull me back in. When the next rent deadline came, I didn't send a dime. Instead, I executed the plan I'd been building for weeks. One Friday morning before sunrise, while the city was still asleep, I loaded my car with the last of my boxes, clothes, documents, a few pieces of furniture I'd bought with my own money. The sky was pale blue, and for the first time in months, the air didn't feel heavy in my lungs. Alina was still asleep in her bedroom, sprawled across the sheets like a queen. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I stared at her for a moment, not out of love, but disbelief at how far I'd let myself fall. Then I turned, locked the door behind me, and left my key on the counter. As I drove across the bridge to my new apartment, My phone vibrated again and again. First a text. "Hey babe, did you forget to send the rent?" Then another. "Call me." The landlord's threatening eviction. By the time she realized my number was blocked, I was already unpacking. I deleted her from social media, wiped old photos, and told mutual friends not to give her my new address. I cut every cord, every rope she could use to pull me back in. For hours, my hands trembled, half from adrenaline, half from the sheer relief of it all. I didn't know what she'd do next, but for the first time in a long time, it didn't matter. That night, I lay on the floor of my nearly empty apartment, staring up at the cracked ceiling. The silence felt strange. No buzzing notifications, no guilt, no demands. Just me breathing, and in that quiet, I realized this wasn't running away. It was taking my life back. The silence didn't last long. Within a week, words started trickling back to me through mutual friends. Alina was unraveling fast. Without my money covering her rent, she fell behind almost immediately. The landlord served her with a warning notice, and by the end of the month, she was forced out of the apartment she used to brag about like it was a penthouse. "She's been crashing on couches," one friend told me over the phone, his tone almost disbelieving. "Honestly, she burned so many bridges that no one wants her around for long. It wasn't just the eviction. The guys she'd been juggling finally caught on too. One dumped her publicly at a bar, shouting that she was a liar. Another blocked her entirely, leaving her ranting in group chats about how men are trash. Every safety net she thought she had disappeared one by one. Meanwhile, I was slowly piecing myself back together. My new apartment was small, the paint chipped, but it was mine. I didn't owe it to anyone, and no one could take it away from me. At night, I'd cook cheap meals, sit by the window, and just listen to the hum of the city. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt honest. It felt like freedom. Still, hearing about her downfall stirred a strange mix of emotions. Part of me pitied her. Watching someone self-destruct was never pretty. But a bigger part of me felt vindicated. This was the karma I had prayed for during sleepless nights when I thought I was trapped forever, and just when I thought she was gone for good, when I'd finally stopped looking over my shoulder. She found a way back into my life. It happened late one night, months after I'd cut her off. I was lying in bed, scrolling absent-mindedly, when a notification popped up. New email from Alina. My stomach tightened. For a second, I debated deleting it without even opening it, but curiosity got the better of me. The email was long, rambling. She started with, "I know I hurt you, but please hear me out." She painted herself as the victim, said life had been cruel, that everyone abandoned her, that she made mistakes because she was scared of being alone. Halfway through, the tone shifted. "I miss you. You were the only one who truly cared for me. No one else ever showed up the way you did." Then came the part that made me laugh bitterly. "I'm broke and I don't know who else to turn to. I just need a little help getting back on my feet. We can start fresh, please." It was so transparent. The same performance I'd fallen for countless times. Guilt, nostalgia, then the inevitable ask for money. My chest burned reading it, not from longing, but from the sharp realization of how far I'd come. I could picture her typing it out, probably in some friend's spare room, hoping the same old lines would reel me back in. For a brief moment, I remembered the girl I once thought I loved, the one I believed I was building a future with. But that version of her had never really existed. I closed my laptop, heart steady. For the first time, I didn't feel the urge to respond. I just felt free. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the last time she'd try to claw her way back. The next morning, I reread the email with clear eyes. Before those words, "I miss you. You're the only one I can count on," would have hooked me instantly. I would have convinced myself she meant it, that maybe she was finally realizing my worth. But now, all I saw was desperation dressed up as affection. I sat at my kitchen table, the smell of coffee drifting through the room, and thought about everything I'd sacrificed, the rent payments, the sleepless nights, the self-doubt she planted in me. None of it had ever been about love. It was always about what she could take. Her voice echoed in my head, that smug line she once threw at me. "You're still here, aren't you? Clearly they don't matter if I keep choosing you." Back then it broke me. Now it just made me shake my head. I whispered to myself, I don't owe her anything. Not an explanation. Not a reply. Nothing. For a moment, I hovered over the reply button, imagining what I could write: a scathing takedown, a final word to make her feel the sting of every betrayal. But then I realized silence was the loudest response I could ever give her, so I clicked delete. No draft, no answer. Just gone. Later that day, my phone buzzed with another unknown number. Her trying again. I blocked it without hesitation. For once, the guilt didn't follow. I didn't feel cruel, I felt untouchable, and in that quiet victory, I knew she no longer had any power over me. It's been months since that last message, and I never heard from her again. Sometimes, late at night, I catch myself thinking about those years I wasted, the lies I swallowed, the money I threw away, the dignity I let her strip from me piece by piece. But then I look around at my life now, and I realize those days are gone. My apartment isn't fancy, but every bill I pay is mine. Every meal, every piece of furniture, every quiet evening with the window cracked open, it all belongs to me, not to some illusion of a future with a woman who never cared. The best revenge wasn't watching her lose everything. It wasn't imagining her broke and alone, realizing she burned every bridge. The real revenge was stepping out of that cycle and never looking back. I remember her once telling me, "You'll never find someone who loves you like I do." Back then, it terrified me. I thought she meant I'd be alone forever. Now I know the truth. I'll never find someone like her again because I'll never let myself sink that low again. If you're reading this and you feel trapped the way I did, here's what I learned. Love without respect isn't love. Sacrifice without appreciation isn't noble, it's slavery. And silence, the act of walking away without explanation, can be louder than any scream of revenge. I didn't ruin her life. She did that herself. All I did was step aside and let the truth catch up to her, and in the end, freedom, my freedom, was the sweetest revenge I could ever have.